My name is Celeste Monroe, and if you had told me that love could feel like both a dream and a warning, I would have laughed. I used to believe that love was simple, that good intentions and shared smiles could keep a heart safe. But that was before I met Damien Holt, the man who would teach me that passion, once awakened, can consume everything in its path. It started on a rainy evening in New York City. I had just left a business event, exhausted, frustrated, my heels clicking against the wet pavement. I hailed a cab, but it splashed mud all over my dress instead. I cursed under my breath, ready to give up, when I heard a deep voice behind me. "You look like you could use an umbrella." I turned, and there he was. Damien. Tall, confident, with that kind of presence that made everything around him seem to pause. His suit was immaculate, his gaze steady, his smile faint but disarming. He offered me his umbrella, and when our fingers brushed, a spark shot through me so sharp it almost made me step back. We shared a cab that night, and by the time it dropped me off in front of my apartment, I knew I'd never forget him. What I didn't know was how deeply he'd carve himself into my life. He called the next day. Said he couldn't stop thinking about me. Said he wanted to see me again. I told myself it was just dinner. Just one night. But one night turned into 2, then 3, then a weekend trip to Miami that felt like a fever dream. Damien had a way of making me feel alive in ways I never had before. Every look, every touch, every whisper of my name felt like a secret we weren't supposed to share. He was dangerous in the most beautiful way. The kind of man who looked like he had it all together, yet carried something dark in his eyes. I asked once about the faint scar near his collarbone. He smiled and said, "Some stories are better left untold." I should have listened. Weeks passed and our connection grew intense. He wasn't just attentive. He was consuming. He learned every part of me, my routines, my fears, my dreams. When he kissed me, it wasn't gentle. It was a promise and a warning all at once. I fell hard, completely, blindly. Then, things started to shift. Late-night calls he wouldn't answer. Mysterious business trips. The faint smell of perfume on his jacket that wasn't mine. My intuition whispered, but I silenced it with love. Or maybe with denial. One night, I followed him. I told myself I was being paranoid, but deep down I already knew. He drove to a penthouse downtown, not his. I waited, heart pounding, until he stepped out of the car. And then she appeared. A woman. Elegant, confident, and far too familiar with him. She kissed him softly. He didn't resist. I felt my chest tighten. I couldn't breathe. The man who swore I was his only one was standing under the glow of another woman's window. I drove home in silence that night, numb and shaking. When he came back hours later, I asked him directly, "Who is she?" He paused. His silence was the loudest answer I'd ever heard. He told me her name was Vanessa. That she was complicated. That I wouldn't understand. But I did. I understood that I had become a story. He told himself to feel less guilty about the lies he lived in. I tried to walk away, but he wouldn't let me. The next morning, I found roses on my doorstep with a note that said, "You're mine. Always." A chill ran through me. Love wasn't supposed to feel like possession. For days, he kept calling, showing up at places I went, sending gifts I didn't want. I blocked his number, but he found other ways. Once, I came home to find him sitting on my couch, holding a photo of us. I asked how he got in. He said, "You never locked me out, Celeste. You love me too much." I was terrified, but a part of me still loved him. That was the most dangerous part of all. The memory of his touch haunted me, even when I knew it was wrong. When I finally went to the police, they told me to be cautious, to change my locks, to stay with someone. But how do you escape someone who already knows the map of your heart? A week later, I left the city. I packed everything, deleted my social media, and moved to Chicago. I thought I was free. Until one night, I walked into a new cafe, and there he was, sitting by the window, as if waiting. He smiled that same devastating smile and said, "You can run, Celeste, but you can't hide from what we have." I froze. The world around me spun. My pulse roared in my ears. Then, slowly, I turned and walked out. That was the last time I saw him. Months passed. Therapy helped. Time helped. I learned that love without boundaries isn't love. It's obsession. And passion without trust burns everything it touches. Sometimes I still dream about him. Sometimes I wake up and imagine he's beside me. Then I remember who he truly was. The man who taught me that the line between love and danger can be heartbreakingly thin. Now, when I look out at the city lights, I don't think of him. I think of me. Of survival. Of strength. Of rediscovering who I am without the weight of someone else's lies. Because sometimes the greatest love story isn't about finding someone new. It's about finding yourself after the storm. Have you ever loved someone so deeply that it blinded you to the truth? How did you find the strength to finally let go? Share your story in the comments. I'd love to hear your journey. And if this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories about love, loss, and the beautiful chaos of the human heart.